Kryptonian Prince Batman vs. Viking Deathstroke.
Attention Span Edition.
That is what you're about to witness. The third issue of Dark Knights of Steel All-Winter is so freaking good, it's insane, but if you haven't been following along, the last issue consisted of this little boy Alec, who's basically Swamp Thing, and Deathstroke's ex-wife Adeline traveling to the old abandoned capital of Gillingham so Alec could use his powers to overcome the All-Winter and restore color to the land. Unfortunately, however, Adeline was killed when Slade's daughter Rose, who was sent by Vander Savage, snuck behind both her and Slade, jamming a massive spike through their backs. Adeline's death would cause Alec to get so angry though that he pretty much went Super Saiyan, releasing a massive burst of energy that not only kept Rose from ending Slade's life, but also temporarily restored color to the land. But you're here to see Batman in knight armor fighting Viking Deathstroke, I get it. So with that being said, let's jump into the breakdown. So we start off with a brief flashback just like last issue, but in this one Adeline is trying to comfort her and Slade's sons during a thunderstorm. With blood all over his face, sooner or later Slade came barging in through the front door, telling Addie to go get her things because they needed to leave immediately. But Adeline refused to move forward without getting answers, demanding to know what Slade did and to know whose blood was on his face. After that, our story jumps back over to present day where Slade created a burial for her and apologized for everything he did. Meanwhile, Alec was curled up on the ground, lightly sobbing. Her death was clearly having a huge impact on him due to the fact that she was like a mother to him. Slade, on the other hand, wasn't really concerned about him, or at least that's what it seemed like at first. But as he began walking away from him, he couldn't bring himself to leave him behind. So he went back and offered Alec his hand, telling him that despite how nonsensical and foolish it was, they were gonna finish the journey to Gillingham that him and Addie started. Alec was furious though. With tears pouring down his face, he shouted that Addie was dead, but according to Slade, they couldn't worry about that right now because if Alec stayed behind, soon enough he'd be dead too, and her death would mean nothing if they didn't finish what they started. So because he didn't really have a choice, Alec took his hand and they began riding to Gillingham on horseback. For 4 entire days they didn't speak a word to each other, but upon breaking the ice, Slade asked Alec if he was gonna tell him what he was, curious as to how he defied the colorless atmosphere of the All-Winter. Still thinking of Adeline, Alec was confused as to why that was the first thing he asked him, but as stated by Slade, he wasn't one for the chit nor the chat. Soon enough, the conversation shifted its focus on Rose, with Alec asking if she was Slade's daughter. Slade expressed that she was a mistake, and that after what she did to Addie, he'd be dealing with her soon enough in a very brutal manner. Alec didn't think calling her a mistake was very nice, but either way, Slade wasn't a very nice man, so he didn't care. Given their current circumstances though, he felt he was owed an explanation as to why they were going to Gillingham, so Alec finally told him it was to save the world. Upon asking him how he planned on doing that, Alec indicated that he didn't really know. To say the least, this caused Slade a great deal of frustration because a journey to Gillingham was no minor task. They wouldn't make it there without facing miles of undead Draugr and then a dangerous and unholy tempest called the Everstorm. Now even if they got past that, they still needed to stay on the lookout for Rose and other assassins sent by Vander Savage, so the fact that Alec had no idea how he was supposed to save the world was madness. Alec said that he only knew what the green told him though, prompting Slade to ask him what the hell the green was. According to Alec, it was the thing that gave him his power, and it talked to him in his dreams sometimes. It told him that he could end the All-Winter if he went to Gillingham. So Slade was like, you're telling me we're out here in these frozen wastelands because of voices in your head? But proving that he wasn't crazy, Alec told him the green told him about his 2 sons and someone named Victor. Now for whatever reason, this was clearly a soft spot for Slade because once they were brought up, he got so pissed that he got all of his things together and started walking away. Confused with his reaction, Alec asked him what happened to saving the world, resulting in Slade turning around in a furious manner, expressing that he worked for monsters and killed men for money. He didn't give a damn about this world, and the only reason he stayed on this journey for so long was for Addie's sake. And then suddenly things went completely south. The entire bridge they were standing on collapsed out of nowhere as a man came plummeting down from the sky. During their descent, Deathstroke quickly grabbed onto one of the bridge's ropes, using it to swing into the side of the cliff and then using the cliff as leverage to dive after Alec and save his life. Meanwhile, down below, there were some squirrels that were in love, with the boy squirrel offering the girl squirrel one of his best acorns, only to get smashed into and killed by the Bat Prince, Bruce Wayne. Apparently he was practicing flying, something that Cal made look so easy, but he couldn't worry about his failure for too long because right after that, Deathstroke forced him into a gruesome battle, smacking him across the head with his axe and then ramming him with his shield. Now Bruce was wasn't trying to fight him and continuously asked him to stop during their engagement. However, Slade assumed that he was one of Vander's assassins, so he pressed on until being hit so hard that it literally looked like his soul came out of his body. Nevertheless, after crashing through some trees, Slade was ready for round 2, telling Bruce let's try that again. Bruce still wasn't trying to fight him though, but as Slade came flying towards him, he was left with no other choice. Meanwhile, as their showdown proceeded, Alec was pretty much unconscious, but in the process of coming back to his senses. Speaking of Alec, Slade wanted to know how much Bruce was being paid by Vander to slaughter him. Not knowing what he was talking about, Bruce demanded him to back away from him, then blasting him with his heat vision. Luckily for Slade though, his shield was sturdy enough to keep him from harm, and he was relentless enough to smash Bruce's face with an axe yet again. But as the battle grew closer to its end, Alec was contacted by the Green, which fully brought him back to his senses and allowed him to put the battle to a halt by releasing yet another massive burst of colorful energy. Now after that, the land's color was temporarily restored the same way it was in the last issue, and before the two meatheads could jump into action again, Alec demanded them to stop fighting. Apparently the Green told him Bruce's name and that he was a prince, but this didn't make any sense to Slade because there weren't any princes in Yarnlund, so Alec informed him that he wasn't from Yarnlund and came from very far away. Soon enough, Bruce apologized for crashing into the bridge and almost killing them. The sun gave him strength to fly, but in these lands, the sun wasn't bright how it was in the Kingdom of El. Slade never even heard of the Kingdom of El, and Bruce never even heard of Yarnlund or Vander Savage, so Slade asked him what he was doing there. As stated by Bruce, things were intense at home and he wanted to get away to clear his head, something Slade should have asked him before he tried killing him. That's when Alec butted in, jokingly replying that Slade wasn't one for the chit nor the chat, but he was glad they ran into Bruce because he could help them on their journey. Slade tried making it seem like him and Alec's journey was over though, and like they weren't a team anymore. But if that were true, he wouldn't have leapt off of a cliff to save his life. It wasn't too late for him to make things right. After that, Bruce asked him if this place was under a spell or something, but ignoring his concerns, Slade told him he owed him a horse. But because he didn't have a horse to give, Slade indicated he'd have to accompany them on their journey because where they were going, they definitely needed his help. Once he accepted to do so, once again they were on their way to Gillingham, with Deathstroke explaining why the land was colorless. But as they walked away, we see a new oak tree in full color sprouting from the ground. But with that being said, the issue sadly comes to an end, but if you guys want to see what happens next, let me know in the comments down below.